I still remember that day very clearly. It was an ordinary morning, or at least I thought it was ordinary. The sun was shining softly through my window, and the sound of cars outside told me that the city was already awake. I had no idea that my life was about to change forever. I woke up early because I couldn't sleep well that night. Something felt strange, but I didn't know why. I slowly got out of bed, washed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked normal. Nothing seemed wrong. But deep inside, there was a strange feeling in my chest, like something important was about to happen. I lived in a small apartment with my parents. Our home was quiet most of the time. My parents were kind, caring, and supportive. At least, that's what I always believed. That morning, I was supposed to meet my best friend later, so I wasn't in a hurry. I went to the kitchen to make some coffee. While the coffee machine was working, I heard voices from the living room. At first, I didn't pay attention. I thought my parents were just talking about normal things. But then I heard my name. When you hear your name unexpectedly, your ears become sharp. You start listening without even realizing it. That's exactly what happened to me. My mother sounded nervous. Her voice was low, almost like she didn't want anyone to hear her. "We can't hide it forever," she said quietly. My father replied, "I know, but this is not the right time." I froze. Hide what? Hide it from whom? I stood there, holding my cup of coffee, not moving, not breathing properly. My heart started beating faster. My mother continued, "What if they find out by accident? It would destroy everything." My father sighed deeply. "I'm scared of that too, but telling the truth might hurt even more." The truth. That word hit me like a stone. I suddenly felt like I was doing something wrong by listening, but my feet refused to move. My body stayed still, as if it wanted to hear more, even if my mind was screaming at me to stop. Then my mother said something that completely shocked me. "She deserves to know the truth about her past." Her past. My past. My hands started shaking. The coffee in my cup spilled a little, but I didn't even notice. What truth? What past? I had so many questions, but no answers. I carefully took a step closer to the living room, making sure they wouldn't hear me. My heart was beating so loudly that I was afraid they might hear it. My father spoke again, his voice heavy and tired. "We promised ourselves we would tell her one day, but every year it becomes harder." My mother replied, almost crying, "Because we're afraid of losing her." That sentence changed everything. Losing me. Why would telling me the truth make them lose me? At that moment, I realized something important. My life, the life I thought I knew, might be built on secrets. I felt confused, scared, and angry at the same time. My mind was racing, trying to connect dots that didn't make sense yet. I wanted to walk into the living room and ask them everything. I wanted to shout, to cry, to demand answers, but I couldn't move. Fear held me back. What if I wasn't ready to hear the truth? I quietly went back to my room, my coffee untouched. I sat on my bed and stared at the wall. My thoughts were loud, but the room was silent. That day, I met my best friend as planned. I smiled, laughed, and acted normal. But inside, I was broken. Every word my parents said kept replaying in my mind. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept asking myself the same questions over and over. Who am I really? What are they hiding from me? And why does the truth feel so dangerous? I didn't know it yet, but this secret was only the beginning. A beginning that would change my relationships, my memories, and my entire future. And the worst part, I would soon discover that the truth was far more painful than I ever imagined. The next morning, I woke up with heavy eyes and a tired mind. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard my parents' voices again. Their words echoed in my head like a broken record. "We can't hide it forever. She deserves to know the truth. We're afraid of losing her." I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. My heart felt heavy, like it was carrying a secret that didn't belong to me, yet somehow already did. I decided not to say anything, at least not yet. I wanted to understand more before confronting them, so I started paying attention. I listened more. I watched their faces, their reactions, the way they talked to me. At breakfast, my mother smiled at me like always. She asked if I slept well. I said yes, even though it was a lie. My father read the news on his phone, calm and quiet. They looked normal, and that made everything worse. I went to school, but I couldn't focus. My teacher's voice sounded distant, like it was coming from another room. My classmates were laughing, talking about small problems, small dreams. I felt disconnected from all of it. During lunch break, my best friend asked me if something was wrong. She said I looked tired. I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to say, I think my whole life is a lie, but I couldn't. Instead, I smiled and said, I'm just tired. That evening, when I came home, I noticed something unusual. My parents were unusually quiet. There was tension in the air, thick and uncomfortable. At dinner, nobody talked much. Forks touched plates, glasses moved, but words were missing. Finally, my father cleared his throat. We need to talk, he said. My heart stopped. I looked up slowly. My mother avoided my eyes. Her hands were shaking slightly. Talk about what? I wanted to ask, but my voice didn't come out. My father took a deep breath. There's something important you need to know. The room suddenly felt smaller. The walls felt closer. I felt like I couldn't breathe properly. I nodded. My mother looked at me then, her voice filled with tears. Please know that we love you, more than anything. Those words scared me more than silence ever could. My father continued, the story of your life, it didn't start the way you think. I felt a cold wave move through my body. What do you mean? I finally asked. My mother reached for my hand. Her touch was warm, but it felt unfamiliar. You are our daughter, she said quickly, in every way that matters. But, that word again. But what? I asked, my voice shaking. My father closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. You were adopted. The world stopped. I stared at him, not understanding the meaning of the word at first. Adopted. The sound of it felt strange in my ears. No, I said quietly. That's not possible. My mother squeezed my hand harder. We wanted to tell you sooner. We really did. But we were afraid. Afraid. Everything suddenly made sense, and yet nothing made sense at all. I pulled my hand away and stood up. My legs were weak, but anger gave me strength. You lied to me, I said. My whole life. My father stood up too. We protected you. No, I shouted. You decided for me. Tears ran down my face before I could stop them. My chest hurt. My thoughts were messy and loud. Who are my real parents? I asked. My mother cried openly now. They loved you. Very much. Loved. Past tense. Are they alive? I whispered. There was silence. That silence answered my question before words did. I felt like the ground disappeared under my feet. I sat down slowly, my body no longer able to hold itself up. My father spoke softly. Your biological parents died in an accident when you were very young. I closed my eyes. Inside my head, images formed. Faces I never knew. Voices I never heard. A life I never lived. They were my sister and her husband, my mother continued. You are my niece. That truth hit me harder than anything else. Everything I believed about myself shattered in that moment. That night, I cried until my body felt empty. I cried for the parents I lost without ever knowing them. I cried for the life that was hidden from me. I cried because I didn't know who I was anymore. Days passed, then weeks. I avoided my parents. I stayed in my room. I thought about leaving, running away, starting fresh somewhere else. But slowly, something inside me changed. I realized that even though they hid the truth, they loved me. They raised me. They were there for every sickness, every failure, every success. One evening, I went into the living room. My parents looked up, surprised. still angry, and I'm still confused." They nodded silently. "But I want to know everything," I continued. "No more secrets." My mother smiled through tears. "We promise." That was the beginning of healing. The truth didn't destroy my life. It changed it. And sometimes change hurts before it makes you stronger. After that night, things slowly began to change. Not all at once, not magically, but little by little. I started talking more with my parents, not just about the past, but about feelings, about fear, about love. For the first time, I saw them not only as parents, but as people who made mistakes and lived with regret. One afternoon, my mother brought out an old box. It was small and worn, like it had been opened many times. "These are yours," she said softly. Inside the box